Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's story isn't about love at first sight. It's about what happens when one moment rewrites everything. Two rivals, one irreversible change, and an obsession that refuses to let go. So, let's dive into the story.
Chapter 1. Rivalry that smells like war. The ballroom shimmered with gold light, polished glass, and quiet ambition. Every smile in the room was rehearsed, every handshake calculated. And at the center of it all stood Finn Carter, immaculate in a tailored black suit, expression bored, fingers loosely wrapped around a glass he hadn't touched in the last 10 minutes. He looked like he owned the room. He didn't. But he acted like he did. And that was enough to make most people believe it. Still pretending you're interested in networking? The voice came from too close. Of course it did. Finn didn't turn immediately. He took a slow breath instead, already knowing exactly who it was. Still pretending you're subtle, Dax? A quiet chuckle brushed against his ear. Dax Laurent stepped into his space like he belonged there, like he always had. Because once he did. College had been easier. Back then, Dax's presence had meant late-night arguments, shared notes, and a kind of understanding neither of them ever put into words. Now? Now it meant trouble. I'm offended, Dax said smoothly, adjusting his cufflinks. I thought I was being charming. Finn finally turned, raising a brow. You've never been charming a day in your life. And yet, Dax leaned in slightly, voice lower, eyes darker than they should be under soft lights. You still keep talking to me. Finn snorted. That's because ignoring you doesn't make you go away. Nothing makes me go away. That lingered a second too long. Finn's gaze sharpened, but then he smirked, stepping back just enough to break whatever tension had tried to settle. Did you come here to talk or to steal another deal from under me? Dax smiled, slow, deliberate. I already did. Finn's smile dropped instantly. Don't lie. I'm not. There it was. The shift. The air between them turned sharp, familiar, like every argument they'd ever had, every competition, every line crossed and redrawn. You're unbelievable, Finn muttered, setting his glass aside. That contract was mine. Was, Dax corrected softly. Finn let out a short laugh, shaking his head. You're obsessed. Dax didn't deny it. That was the problem. They didn't stay in the ballroom long after that. They never did. Somehow, every encounter between them ended the same way, pulled away from public eyes, into quieter spaces where civility became optional. Tonight, it was an empty conference room on the upper floor. The door hadn't even fully shut before Finn grabbed Dax by the collar and shoved him back. You crossed the line. Dax barely staggered, more amused than threatened. You say that every time. And you never listen. Because you never mean it. Finn's grip tightened. Try me. There was nothing playful about his tone now. Finn Carter didn't bluff. Dax's smile faltered. Just for a second. God, he loved this. Loved the fire in Finn's eyes, the way he pushed back, the way he never once treated Dax like something to avoid or fear. Everyone else did. Finn never had. You're angry, Dax murmured, almost thoughtful. I was wondering how long it would take. Finn stared at him. You think this is a game? No, Dax said quietly. And for a moment, just a moment, he sounded honest. Then he ruined it. I think you like it. Finn hit him. Not hard enough to do real damage, but enough to snap Dax's head to the side. Still annoying, Finn said flatly. Dax laughed under his breath, wiping the corner of his lip. And you're still predictable. Finn rolled his eyes. Says the man who follows me around like he has nothing better to do. That landed. Because it was true. Dax did follow him. Meetings, events, places Finn never told anyone about. He always showed up. Finn had noticed. He just never called it what it was. You're interesting, Dax replied, lightly. I'm busy. You make time for me. I make time to shut you up. Dax stepped closer again. Too close. Always too close. Then do it. Finn didn't step back. Of course he didn't. Their space collapsed into something tight, electric, years of tension packed into inches. You don't know when to stop, Finn said. No, Dax agreed softly. That should have been the end of it. Another argument, another near fight, Another night where nothing actually changed. But something shifted. Subtle at first. A scent. Sharp, deep, unfamiliar. Finn's brows knit slightly. What? Dax froze. He felt it before he understood it. The loss of control. The way something inside him, something tightly contained for years, suddenly snapped loose. His breathing changed. His pulse spiked. The air thickened. Finn's expression shifted from irritation to confusion. Then, he went still. Completely still. Dax? The way he said his name. It wasn't right. Dax blinked, the haze cracking just enough for clarity to rush in. Finn? Finn's grip loosened. His body swayed. And then, he collapsed. Finn! Dax caught him before he hit the ground, panic slamming into him so fast it almost made him dizzy. Hey, look at me, Finn! No response. His skin was burning. His breathing uneven. Something was wrong. Something was very, very wrong. Dax didn't think. For once in his life, he didn't calculate, didn't plan, didn't hesitate. He just moved. The hospital lights were too bright. Too clean. Too slow. Dax stood outside the examination room, hands clenched at his sides, mind replaying the moment over and over again. The scent. His scent. What had he? The door opened. His personal physician stepped out, expression unreadable. Dax turned immediately. What happened to him? The doctor hesitated. That was never a good sign. Mr. Laurent, he began carefully. What I'm about to say may be difficult to process. Dax's patience snapped. Just tell me. A pause. Then, Mr. Carter is undergoing a biological shift. Silence. Dax frowned. That's not possible. It is, the doctor said quietly. Your pheromones triggered it. Dax's stomach dropped. No. Yes. The words felt heavy, final. Enigma pheromones, especially at high intensity, can cause a representation in compatible alphas. It's rare, extremely rare. But in his case, the doctor exhaled. It appears those instincts were already dormant. Your exposure didn't create the reaction, it awakened it. Dax stared at him, uncomprehending. And there's more, the doctor added. Of course there was. There are indications that this bond, this compatibility, didn't start tonight. Dax's voice came out quieter than he expected. What do you mean? The doctor met his eyes. It's possible that you and Mr. Carter formed a latent claim long ago, unknowingly. College? The late nights? The closeness? The unspoken things neither of them addressed. Dax's chest tightened. No, he said again, but weaker this time. Inside the room, machines beeped softly. Finn Carter, sharp-tongued, unshakable Finn, lay unconscious because of him. Because of something Dax had lost control over. Something he had done. His hands trembled slightly. I didn't just fight him. The realization settled in, cold and irreversible. I changed him. And for the first time in years, Dax Laurent didn't feel in control at all. Chapter 2. You did something to me. Finn Carter woke up already annoyed. That was normal. Waking up in a private hospital suite owned by Dax Laurent? Not normal. Waking up with a pounding headache, a weird warmth under his skin, and an extremely specific awareness of someone standing outside the door? Absolutely not normal. Finn stared at the ceiling for a long moment, processing. I'm going to kill him. The door opened immediately. Of course it did. Dax stepped in like he'd been waiting for that exact moment, which, knowing him, he probably had. But Finn blinked. Because something was wrong. Dax Laurent, composed, smug, untouchable Dax, looked like he hadn't slept, hadn't breathed properly, hadn't functioned since last night. His usually perfect hair slightly out of place and his expression tense. And his eyes. God. He looked like a kicked puppy. Finn pushed himself up slowly, wincing slightly, then narrowed his eyes. Why do you look like that? Dax didn't answer immediately. He just stared at Finn like he needed visual confirmation that he was alive. Say something, Finn snapped. Dax stopped, jaw tightening. That was new. Dax Laurent didn't hesitate. Ever. I need to tell you something. Finn groaned. If this is about the deal, it's not. Then I'm even less interested. Despite that, Finn's gaze stayed on him, sharp, assessing. Because something was off. Not just Dax. Himself. His body felt strange. Too warm. Too aware. And Finn's nose wrinkled slightly. Why do you smell like that? Dax froze. Like what? Finn paused. How did he even describe it? It wasn't unpleasant. That was the problem. It was annoying, Finn finished flatly. Dax let out a breath that sounded suspiciously like relief. Finn, don't, Finn cut him off, sliding off the bed despite the lingering dizziness. Whatever this is, fix it. Dax's expression darkened. I can't. Silence. Finn blinked once. Then twice. Excuse me? I can't fix it, Dax repeated, quieter this time. Finn stared at him, then laughed. Actually laughed. Wow, he said, slow and sarcastic. That's new. You break something and suddenly you're useless? I didn't mean to. You did something to me. That wiped whatever was left of Dax's composure. I know. The admission came too fast, too raw. Finn's eyes narrowed. Explain. And Dax did. Not everything, not the depth of it, but enough. Enough about Enigma pheromones. About representation. About compatibility. About how Finn had reacted to him. By the time he finished, the room was quiet. Finn stood there, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Then, so let me get this straight, Finn said slowly. Your little emotional breakdown decided to rewire my biology? Dax winced slightly. That's a very simplified way to... You broke me. I didn't. You did. Dax shut up. For once, Finn watched him for a long moment, then sighed. Not angry, not panicked, just tired. Unbelievable. Dax looked like he was expecting yelling, or violence, or both. Instead, Finn just ran a hand through his hair and muttered, I always knew you were a problem. Finn? Relax, Finn said flatly. If I wanted to hit you, I already would have. That didn't sound reassuring. At all. By the time they arrived at their usual weekly gathering, Dax had not left Finn's side once. Not once. Which was deeply irritating. Finn pushed open the door to the private lounge they always used, already hearing familiar voices inside. Their people. Their constant. Their family, even if none of them would ever admit it out loud. Finally, Wilfred Fraser, corporate lawyer and professional instigator, looked up from his drink. The drama duo arrives. Behind him, Ardian Sinclair, an investment banker, Wyston Elwood, the tech CEO, Sebastian Reed, a surgeon, and Anton Clyde, a media mogul, were already gathered. All alphas. All sharp. All immediately. Silent. Because the moment Finn walked in, something shifted. Wilfred frowned first. Okay, what's wrong with you? Finn dropped onto the couch. Be more specific. You smell different, Sebastian said bluntly. Wyston leaned forward, eyes narrowing. And Dax looks like he's guarding national treasure. Everyone's gaze slowly turned to Dax, who was, in fact, standing slightly too close to Finn, watching everyone like they were potential threats, including his own friends. Why are you standing like that? Dev asked. Dax didn't answer. Finn sighed. I told you, he muttered, not even looking at him. You're being weird. I'm not being weird. You're hovering. I'm standing. You're hovering aggressively. Wildred snorted. That's a new one. Ardian leaned back, crossing his arms. All right. Someone start talking before I assume this is blackmail or murder. Dax spoke. Straightforward. No deflection. No games. He told them everything. And when he finished, silence hit the room like a wall. You did what? Wyston said slowly. I didn't mean to. You triggered his representation? Sebastian cut in, already halfway into doctor mode. That's not something that just happens, Dax. I know. You could have seriously... I know. That stopped them. Because Dax Laurent admitting fault without argument? That was more shocking than the situation itself. Dev exhaled sharply, dragging a hand down his face. This is insane. Wilfred looked between them, then muttered, I always said your tension was weird. Finn pointed at him. Not helping. Ardian shook his head. So what now? All eyes turned to Finn. Who looked? Completely unbothered. I deal with it, he said simply. That's it? Whiston frowned. Finn shrugged. What else am I supposed to do? Cry about it? You could be a little concerned, Sebastian suggested. Finn smirked. I am. That smile said otherwise. Dax, meanwhile, was watching all of them too closely. Especially when Anton leaned slightly toward Finn. Dax stepped in immediately. Subtle. But not subtle enough. Finn noticed. Of course he did. He looked up at Dax slowly. Did you just block him? No. You did. I adjusted my position. You adjusted yourself between me and him. Dax didn't reply. Wilfred blinked. Oh, this is going to be fun. Finn stared at Dax for a long second, then sighed. You're insufferable. Dax softened instantly. I know. That was new. Finn narrowed his eyes slightly. Interesting. Very interesting. Later, when the others were distracted arguing over something irrelevant, Finn stood up and walked toward the balcony. He didn't have to look back. Dax followed. Of course he did. The door shut behind them. Silence. Then, Finn turned sharply, grabbing Dax by the collar again and pushing him back against the wall. All right, he said, voice low. Let's try this again. Dax didn't resist. Didn't move. Didn't even pretend to. Whatever you did, fix it. I can't. Finn held his gaze. Searching. Testing. Then you're dealing with me like this. Dax blinked. What? Finn smirked. Slow, sharp, dangerous. Oh, don't look so confused, he said lightly. You caused the problem. Congratulations. Dax's grip tightened at his sides. Finn leaned in slightly, close enough to feel the shift in air between them, close enough to notice how Dax stilled. And now, Finn added, voice softer, amused, you get to handle me. Something warm, pleased, flickered in his chest. The thought settled easily, dangerously. If this is how it is now, his smirk deepened. This might actually be fun. Dax exhaled shakily. Like that single sentence had undone him more than anything else. And Finn? Finn just hummed, satisfied. Because somehow, the so-called Big Bad Enigma looked like he'd willingly burn the world if Finn asked. Interesting. Very interesting. Chapter 3. Claiming versus resisting. Nothing changed. And yet, everything did. For 10 months straight, Dax Laurent became a problem of unprecedented scale. He was always there. Outside Finn's office. Inside Finn's office. At meetings he wasn't invited to. At dinners he definitely wasn't invited to. Watching. Hovering. Existing like a very expensive, very dangerous shadow. Are you planning to breathe without my permission too? Finn muttered one afternoon, not even looking up from his laptop. I already do, Dax replied calmly, standing behind him. Tragic. Despite the dry tone, Finn didn't tell him to leave. He never did. Their dynamic only got worse. Or better. Depending on who you asked. Finn started provoking him on purpose. Leaning too close to other people in meetings. Letting competitors linger in conversations longer than necessary. Smiling at others just to watch Dax's expression darken. And Dax? Dax snapped. Not loudly, never publicly. But the room temperature would drop. Deals would mysteriously fall through. People would stop trying. You're ruining my networking, Finn said once, watching another executive make a quick exit. You don't need them. I like options. You don't need options. Finn finally looked at him, unimpressed. You're insane. Yes. No shame. None. Finn stared at him for a second. Then snorted. By the time 10 months passed, their friends had stopped questioning it. mostly because nothing they said made a difference. Just accept it, Wilfred sighed one evening. He's basically your guard dog now. I don't remember adopting him, Finn replied. I volunteered, Dax added. Of course you did, Whiston muttered. The real chaos started when Finn casually said, We should get married. Silence. Absolute silence. 5 grown men stared at him like he'd just announced the apocalypse. Repeat that, Ardian said slowly. Finn didn't even look up from his drink. You heard me. Dax. Dax looked like he had ascended. Actually, ascended. You're serious? Sebastian asked carefully. Finn shrugged. We're already bonded. Apparently. Biologically entangled, whatever. That is not the same as marriage, Anton pointed out. It is now. All eyes turned to Dax, who was glowing. There was no other word for it. Happy, soft, completely gone. You agree with this? Wilfred asked, suspicious. Yes. Immediate. No hesitation. Finn blinked at him. That was fast. I've been ready. That did something weird to Finn's chest. He ignored it. Anyway, Finn continued casually, if I'm stuck with him, I might as well make it permanent. Wyston choked. That's your reasoning. Finn smirked. Problem? Dax looked like that was the most romantic thing he'd ever heard. The actual proposal came later. Proper. Planned. Infuriatingly perfect. Private dinner, soft lighting, no audience. Dax, for once, looked nervous. I want to do this right, he said quietly. Finn raised a brow. Since when do you do anything right? Since it's you. Annoying. Very annoying. The ring was simple, elegant, expensive. Finn stared at it for a long moment. Then at Dax. Then, fine. That's it? Dax blinked. Yes? You're saying yes? I just did. Finn looked away, completely unfazed. I'm not repeating it. Dax smiled like he'd just been handed the universe. The wedding? A disaster. A luxurious, over-the-top corporate spectacle. The entire industry lost its mind. Headlines the next morning. Corporate rivals turned husbands. Hostile takeover gets personal. Laurent marries Carter. Strategic alliance or emotional instability. Is this love or a merger gone wrong? Sources say Carter said fine instead of I do. Stock market reacts to marriage. Experts confused. Finn read them over breakfast. They're dramatic. Dax, sitting beside him, glanced at the screen. They're wrong. They're not entirely wrong. Dax looked offended. Married life was surprisingly normal. If normal included Dax refusing to let anyone sit too close to Finn. Finn stealing Dax's coffee just to watch him suffer. Their friends showing up unannounced and never leaving. Do you people live here now? Finn asked one evening, watching Anton make himself comfortable on the couch. Yes, Anton replied. No, Dax said at the same time. Finn sighed. Decide. They're temporary, Dax added. They've been here for 3 days, Finn pointed out. They're leaving. We're not, Wilfred called from the kitchen. Finn leaned back. I'm outnumbered. You always are, Wyston said. Work didn't change either. Finn was still a menace. Still sharp, still ruthless. Still running circles around people twice his size. The only difference? Dax was always watching, always close, always ready. Possessive, territorial, completely gone. And somehow, Finn let him. 7 months into marriage, their nightly passion is regular now, until Finn found out. He stared at the report for a long moment, then laughed. Actually laughed. You really went all out, didn't you? Dax froze. Finn? I'm pregnant. Silence. Then, Dax broke. Not dramatically, not loudly, just everything about him softened. His shoulders dropped, his eyes went distant for a second, then focused entirely on Finn. You're mine now, he said quietly. Finn raised a brow. I wasn't before? Dax stepped closer, voice softer. I'll take care of everything. Finn watched him, studied him, then huffed slightly. You're unbelievable. Their friends took it surprisingly well after the initial chaos. You're not leaving him alone for a second, are you? Ardian asked. No? Good, Sebastian nodded. Because if you hurt him, we won't stay neutral, Anton finished calmly. Dax didn't argue. I know. And he meant it. Later that night, Finn leaned against the balcony railing, arms crossed. Dax stood behind him. Close? Always close. You're not freaking out, Dax said quietly. Finn shrugged. Why would I? This changes everything. It already did. Dax didn't respond. Finn glanced at him, then smirked slightly. If I'm stuck with you, he said, voice calm, amused, dangerous, I'm making it your problem. Dax exhaled softly, like that was exactly what he wanted. And Finn? Finn just rolled his eyes. Because somehow, somewhere along the way, he had stopped resisting a long time ago. Not because he lost, but because he chose a different kind of control. And honestly, controlling a dangerously obsessed Enigma with a single look was kind of entertaining. Chapter 4. Menace Mate and Devoted Enigma. Married life suited them disturbingly well. Stop following me. I'm walking. You're breathing behind me. That's how breathing works. Finn Carter stopped mid-step and turned slowly. You're insufferable. Dax Laurent didn't even hesitate. And you're mine. Unfortunately. Finn rolled his eyes, but leaned back just slightly, just enough to let Dax's presence settle behind him. Pregnancy didn't make Finn soft. That was everyone's first mistake. You need rest, Neil said for the third time that week. I need silence, Finn replied, flipping through a contract. You're carrying a child. I'm carrying incompetence in this meeting. That's what I'm carrying. Across the table, 3 executives looked like they wanted to resign immediately. Dax, standing behind Finn's chair like a very expensive bodyguard, added calmly, He's right. You're encouraging him, Ardian muttered. I support him. Blindly, Whiston added. Correct. Finn didn't even look up, but the corner of his lips twitched. Dax, meanwhile, had reached a new level of gone. Completely. Utterly. Irreversibly. He monitored Finn's schedule, meals, sleep, stress levels. And people. Especially people. Why are you staring at him like that? Finn asked once. He looked at you for too long. He asked me for a pen. He didn't need eye contact for that. Finn pinched the bridge of his nose. You need help. I have you. That's not help. That's everything. Finn paused, then scoffed. But he didn't argue further. Their friends adjusted, reluctantly, loudly. But they did. I still think this is insane, Wilfred said, lounging on their couch like he paid rent. You've been saying that for a year, Anton replied. And I'm still right. You're always right, Whiston said dryly, just rarely useful. From across the room, Finn added, He's very useful as background noise. Rude, Wilfred muttered. Dax, sitting beside Finn, absent-mindedly adjusted the cushion behind his back. Careful, precise. Like handling something fragile. Finn noticed. Of course he did. I'm not going to break, he said. I know. You're acting like I will. I prefer prevention. Finn stared at him for a second. Then, annoying. But he didn't move the cushion. The birth was chaos. Absolute chaos. Why are all of you here? Finn snapped, gripping the hospital bed rail. Support, Sebastian said. Moral encouragement, Ardian added. Emotional stability, Anton contributed. You're all useless, Finn hissed. Dax was the only one who didn't speak. Didn't move. Didn't breathe properly. He stood beside Finn, hand locked in his, eyes fixed like the world would end if he looked away. Dax, Finn muttered through clenched teeth. Yes. Stop looking like you're the one giving birth. I would, if I could. Finn almost laughed. Almost. Focus. I am. Not on me. You are my focus. Unbelievable. Hours later, a cry filled the room. Everything stilled. Dax froze. Completely. Finn, he whispered. Finn leaned back exhausted but still smirking faintly. Relax, he muttered. It's yours. Dax looked at the child like he'd just been handed something sacred. Which, to him, he had. Orion, Finn said quietly after a moment. Dax blinked. What? The name, Finn added. Orion Laurent. Dax swallowed. Perfect. Parenthood didn't calm them. If anything, it made Dax worse. You're not holding him properly, Dax said. I am. You're not supporting his head. I raised his head better than you raised your emotional stability. That's not comparable. It is. Across the room, Sebastian sighed. I'm taking the baby. You're not taking my son, Dax said immediately. You're arguing over posture. Finn handed Orion over without hesitation. Take him. Traitor. You started it. Months passed. Nothing softened. Not really. Finn was still sharp, still sarcastic, still completely himself. To everyone else, untouchable. But with Dax, he allowed things. Closeness, silence, presence. Things no one else got. And Dax worshipped him. Openly, shamelessly. My mate, he said once, adjusting Finn's coat. Finn rolled his eyes. Don't start. My everything. You're embarrassing. You love it. Finn smirked slightly. Don't push it. The final spectacle came at a corporate event. Public. Crowded. Annoying. Finn stood near the center, effortlessly commanding attention. Dax, as always, was close. Watching. Guarding. Existing like a threat no one wanted to test. Unfortunately, someone did. A bold executive stepped up, smiling a little too confidently. Mr. Carter, I've been meaning to speak with you. Too close. Too familiar. Dax's expression shifted instantly. Cold? Sharp? Dangerous? The room felt it. But before Dax could move, Finn did. He grabbed Dax's collar, pulled him forward, and said, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear, Careful. A pause. A smirk. He bites. The executive froze. Finn leaned slightly into Dax, completely unbothered. And I'm keeping him, he added casually. After all, he's my one and only big bad wolf husband. Silence. Then, Wilfred burst out laughing from across the room. I'm never getting used to this. You don't have to, Dev replied calmly. Just survive it. Dax didn't hear any of that. He was too busy looking at Finn, like the world had just been handed to him all over again. You're impossible, Finn muttered under his breath. Dax leaned closer. And you chose me, Finn scoffed. Don't remind me. But he didn't let go. And just like that, nothing changed. Everything stayed the same. Obsessive, territorial, slightly unhinged, but steady. Finn never lost himself. Dax never stopped loving him like something sacred. And somewhere in the middle of all that chaos, they built something that worked perfectly.